Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy, Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today's Monday, so we're going to do a little bit of a little news episode. We're going to go through some of the biggest stories from, the past few days as we've had some guests, had some topics to cover with the schedule release and everything. So we're back on track with some news, covering everything that we've missed over the last few days. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome in, everyone, to the chat. Thank you for watching. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening. I hope you drive safe or whatever you do while listening to podcasts. I feel like that's a driving activity. That's a driving activity when you're listening to podcasts, right? But I'm sure that people also listen to podcasts maybe on walks. Do people just listen to podcasts? That's actually, I actually am asking that question. Like, do you? Well, yeah. I guess I do that. I sit at home and watch one of our beautiful Player Profiler YouTube videos. I guess that kind of counts. But anyway, we're gonna get started here. Good morning to you guys here in the chat. Anthony, Jamie, Ryan, Dakota. Thanks for popping in. We've got some stories. We're going to start with the OTAs. The OTAs are starting for a lot of teams today. Some will start tomorrow, but for the most part around the league, OTAs will be kicking off today or tomorrow, really just this week that they're kicking off. There were a couple teams last week that did already have their OTAs, a little bit of training camp stuff. That was the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons. Not too much has come out of either of these camps, but what we do know about the Commanders, the hype is building tremendously around Jayden Daniels. Lots of reports are that he's not only showing up in practice, but also showing up in the film room in a big way. There are also some reported connections with him and Luke McCaffrey that they're kind of throwing and catching partnership is blossoming, if you will. So keep your eyes on Luke McCaffrey. Keep your eyes on Jayden Daniels as the hype continues to build around him this offseason. I would not be surprised if his hype continues to bubble up and he does start to raise, especially as we get closer to redraft season. So keep your eyes on Jayden Daniels. This might be a buying opportunity the more and more I think about it. I think that there's still some question marks about him, but it's starting to look like he is going to kind of hit, and that's kind of how I feel. I do like the landing spot for him. I like the weapons. I think it's going to work well. I think the bigger question with Jayden Daniels is just the longevity. But either way, the hype is building around him. Things are looking good at OTAs with him. Keep your eye on Jayden Daniels and maybe even a little bit of Luke McCaffrey as the connection is reportedly blooming. The next team that had their OTAs already was the Falcons last week. And really the big things here is that Kirk Cousins looks good. He's connecting with London. He's connecting with Pitts, and he's connecting with Darnell Mooney. That name keeps getting brought up, whether it be the camp that he went to with Gruden or just now popping up at OTAs. Darnell Mooney is another sleeper candidate for our fantasy football rosters, whether it be Dynasty or redraft. He's got some decent value right now. He's already had the 1,000-yard season, and now he's going to an offense where there is a vacancy for that wide receiver 2 position, and it's looking like him and Kirk Cousins are connecting in a big way. So keep your eye on Darnell Mooney as well. The last thing to come out from the Falcons camp is a quote from Drake London on Michael Penix. And he says, he's a freaking baller. We've seen it. That's why we took him at that spot. We're happy that he's here, and we've already seen it a couple times. He's slinging it. So Michael Penix also looking good at both the rookie minicamp and the OTAs, and the little NFL photo thing with all the rookies this week looked really, really good in the Falcons uniform. So this Falcons passing attack in particular is really, really starting to make some noise, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix. Invest in your Falcons pass catchers. Kyle Pitts, he's still pretty cheap. Drake London's a little expensive, but might be worth it. And Darnell Mooney definitely seems worth it at his current price tag. I will say this. I saw a Reddit comment this weekend talking about Michael Penix, and someone called him Michael Dick, and I think that's perfect. All of you listening, from Atlanta to go from Michael Vick to Michael Dick, that's pretty funny. And it's just making me think even more that this was just such a great pick by the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, a good little pun there, Michael Dick. A little double entendre, if you will. A fun little one, Michael Dick. Anyway, that's the Falcons and our OTA news. A little more about the Falcons is Kyle Pitts, as at this OTAs, he had an interview where he called himself a super rookie. Here's what he said. I would say I'm a super rookie. I'm not a rookie, But we're all in this new offense, new regime, new schedule, and we're all in this fresh. As we know, I keep pointing out multiple times now, Kyle Pitts is younger than Dalton Kincaid, younger than Trey McBride, and yet has played now 3 years in the league. Last year, he was recovering from an injury, and he actually talked about that in his little interview as well. He just says that he hasn't felt healthy for a while. He said more so during the preparation during the week, dealing with soreness and tightness just made it hard for me to get fully prepped and show up on Sunday in a full regard. I did figure it out, of course, and did what I could, but I am excited to show the Falcons that I can do something different this year. So keep your eye on Kyle Pitts as well. Super rookie, of course, is a weird term to call yourself, but it kind of makes sense as with these rookies now kind of coming in with that extra COVID year and everything, he entered the year or the league so young that he is still kind of a rookie. Again, he's younger than Michael Penix, who they just brought in, but also, of course, younger than 2 Dynasty stud tight ends, Dalton Kincaid and Trey McBride, literally younger than them. So he's still got all the youth guys. I can't stress it enough. I really do think we need to be buying Kyle Pitts in Dynasty. It's not just because I'm a Falcons fan. It just makes too much sense. He's produced time and time again with bad quarterbacks. Even if it hasn't been the best, it's been pretty disappointing. He still had the 1,000-yard rookie season. He still had almost 700 yards last year while not healthy and catching the ball from Desmond Ridder. Still led the league in numerous metrics. Don't give up on Kyle Pitts, guys. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Why would you give up on Kyle Pitts? This is a stud right here. Just an absolute stud. Anyway, we see another Michael Penix pun. This guy called his team is Big Penix Energy. Big Penix Energy. Good job, Brian. That's a good one. I was thinking Mike's Hard. Just leaving it at that, like a little lemonade pun. Mike's Hard Lemonade. Could maybe there. I don't want to say the whole thing, right? But I think that there's something in there. Somebody figure out how to make that good. I think there's something in that little that joke as well with Michael Penix. There's too many puns when it comes to Michael Penix for it to fail, right? It's just too marketable for it to be bad. So that is it on OTAs and Falcons. We have a few more news stories, so let's go ahead and move over to the Raiders. As we know, they have brought in Brock Bowers this year, kind of surprisingly, since they spent high draft capital on Michael Mayer last year. Well, they sat down and interviewed Michael Mayer this weekend, and he seems pretty optimistic about Brock Bowers and the offense as a whole. Here's what he had to say. He's fast. He's got great hands. He can block. He can do it all. I feel like we can both do it all. I think we are going to be dangerous. I think we're going to have a great offense. That's kind of all I've got to say about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our whole job is to win ball games. As an offense, we need to score touchdowns, and that's what we're going to do. We can play 12 personnel. We can play 11. We've got a lot of weapons, and I think you guys know that. I already met Brock, and I've been practicing with him for a week. He's a great guy, and it's been good. So hearing that Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers are working out together is a positive sign. And to hear that Michael Mayer is optimistic that they can both eat is also a pretty solid sign. Now, still, the volume is going to be a big concern. And if they run 2 tight end sets, I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers kind of split this thing. If we remember, Michael Mayer was touted as one of the better tight end prospects we've ever seen. People were over the moon waiting to draft him. And then, the landing spot just wasn't the best. The draft capital wasn't as good as we were hoping. So the kind of the excitement for him has kind of worn off. But he still last year was okay. 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. It wasn't the best, but I mean, for a rookie tight end, I mean, that's really what we should expect. And he was still near the top with a few important metrics. He was 12th in yards per target, 9th in yards per reception, and 11th in target premium, and 9th in target separation, and 2nd in contested catch rate. So Michael Mayer still had a decent season when you look through the underlying metrics last season, even 11th in fantasy points per target. He wasn't very targeted very much. It was Aiden O'Connell. I mean, seriously, guys, Gardner Minshew is a massive upgrade from Aiden O'Connell. I've said it. I honestly don't know why that's a hot take, guys. I really don't know why that's a hot take. Aiden O'Connell didn't really show much to us at all last season, besides being an okay quarterback, but Gardner Minshew has shown that he's at least pretty good. He can actually run an offense and win some football games and do really, really well, spread it around to all the weapons. So I think that this Raiders offense with Gardner Minshew is going to be a sneaky one. I still think Devontae Adams is in for a pretty solid year. And I'm still kind of fading Brock Bowers, even as athletic as he is. His ADP right now is ridiculous. I mean, he's going before the likes of David Njoku and Dallas Goedert and TJ Hockenson, who we'll talk about in a minute. It's just, I think it's a little bit too much. I get it in Dynasty, even to a certain degree, but I still think that there's a little bit to be hopeful with when it comes to Michael Mayer as well. And I just want to see this all unfold before I totally sell Michael Mayer or buy Brock Bowers. It's just, I need to see what this offense looks like first. And I'm going to go ahead and confirm it here on Wake and Take. I know I have no connections to the Vegas Raiders, but Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback week 1, and he is the starting quarterback week 18. He's the Raiders quarterback. It's not a debate. I know Aiden O'Connell had a good season last year, and they're saying everything they can to keep his confidence up and saying that he's fighting for the job. He's not going to win it. It's going to be Gardner Minshew. Go buy Gardner Minshew while you can. Listen to me on that one. Get the Minshew. Get the Minshew. The next little story, I guess if we're talking about tight ends, we have a whole tight end show almost. We go from Kyle Pitts to the Raiders tight ends, and now to Jake Ferguson, who is starting to hype himself up a little bit. We know that last year his season kind of came out of nowhere. He was 10th in points per game, averaging 10.4, had 760 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. And it kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, we were expecting a Cowboys tight end to be decent last year in the absence of Dalton Schultz, but a lot of people, myself included, were a bit in on Luke Schoonmaker since they had spent some draft capital on him. And there was also Peyton Hendershot, who had a decent rookie year along with Jake Ferguson before that. So it seemed almost like it would be a platoon. But Jake Ferguson did a lot to separate himself last year and become the tight end 1 on the Dallas Cowboys, leading to that, 10.4 points per game, which was 10th in the league. So he was asked this weekend just how he's feeling about his development. And he said, to me, I think I'm not even scratching my surface. There's so many things that I want to get better at, and I know I can get better at. In this league, you can't be complacent. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep getting better. And that's what I aim to do. And I know, again, I'm going to apologize. Last year, if you tuned into Wake and Take, I was saying it. I really thought that Luke Schoonmaker was going to be the tight end. I mean, they got him, I think it was the second round, might have been early third, but I think it was the second when they ended up getting Schoonmaker. And he just had really, really good athleticism and seemed like someone that would go into this offense, take that Dalton Schultz role, especially when you looked at the profiles of Jake Ferguson. When you look at the profiles of Peyton Hendershot, it really seemed that Schoonmaker would be the receiving option. Now, that could still be the case here, but I think Jake Ferguson did a lot last year to keep himself as the tight end 1 on this offense. I mean, he had the 7th most targets amongst tight ends. He ran the 3rd most routes. He had the 9th most receptions, the 8th most receiving yards. He was 6th in yards after catch, 7th in touchdowns, 13th in yards per reception. Was really good across the board. 13th in fantasy points per target, 6th in target accuracy. He was out there being efficient, being productive, taking in all those targets, running all those routes, and did a solid job with them. And when you kind of look further into the Jake Ferguson profile, I just don't think that this is a tight end that you should be fading. In fact, he might still be a value even at his price tag. He has 4th round draft capital, which is not too bad for a tight end. He's got average athleticism with above average agility, and he's got good size at 6'5", 250 pounds. And the bigger thing is that he went to Wisconsin. Big Ten tight ends seem to always pan out, and he was productive at Wisconsin as a freshman. Had 450 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. That is unheard of for a rookie tight end or for a freshman tight end in college. And then had 400 yards the next year, 300 yards and 4 touchdowns a year after that, 450 yards and 3 touchdowns a year after that. Just productive all throughout. And that's at Wisconsin that doesn't pass the ball a ton. So to see him be productive last year, to see him have this, mindset of, not wanting to be complacent, wants to continue grinding, that makes me like it. I'm kind of getting in on Jake Ferguson a little bit. They didn't really do much to address the wide receiver room, so there's still going to be a ton of targets going his way. Jake Ferguson's not that bad. It's not a sexy pick, but it's really not a bad pick either. In fact, basically exactly what Dalton Schultz was on the Dallas Cowboys. No one ever super excited to have him, but he had that top 5 season. And the same thing could happen here with Jake Ferguson. I mean, again, he's only 25 years old, despite being in the league now for a couple seasons. So Jake Ferguson, looking like he wants to keep getting better and build upon his standout season last year with over 100 targets, averaging over 10 points per game. The next tight end we have to talk about today is good old TJ Hockenson. As when it comes to the Hawk, things are not looking that great. Right now, he has come out and said that there's still no timetable for his recovery from his ACL injury he sustained in week 16. Here's what he said specifically. They haven't really put a timeline on it. We're just kind of taking it day by day, week by week. And there's just so many variables that you can go through in this process. I'm doing really good right now. We're attacking each process, and it's been awesome. The progression has been incredible. So it sucks to hear that there is no timeline, but it is encouraging to hear that, he is progressing through this recovery really well. He's attacking it, doing good. We saw him, kind of as the star of the Vikings schedule release video. I mean, he was out there walking during it. So clearly he's at least partly through his recovery and doing okay. The only thing is we would like a timeline, especially at this point in the season when you could gain some serious value with him in best ball drafts. Or even in early seasonal drafts, maybe trade for him in Dynasty, although the Dynasty value is still pretty expensive. We would like to hear, yeah, I'm on track to return by X date. That would be great. But we aren't hearing that, so it kind of causes a little bit of concern, a little trepidation when it comes to TJ Hockenson, and it is understandable because just last year we kind of had a similar situation, and I'm going to, this is a bit of a stretch, maybe not similar, but similar-ish situation with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray in 2022 tore his ACL and meniscus in week 14 and didn't recover last year until week 10. Of course, there were some extenuating circumstances, one being that this is ACL and meniscus, whereas TJ Hawkinson's was ACL, MCL, and was a bit cleaner. But they were both late season knee injuries. Kyler being a quarterback probably made it to where they wanted to take their time a little bit more in the recovery. Plus, the Cardinals season last year was kind of lost, so there was no point in rushing him back. But still, he didn't play again until week 10. So we're talking about Kyler Murray, similar-ish injury, not playing or having that injury in week 14, and then not playing again the next season until week 10. This injury was in week 16. So, I mean, if you do the same math there, that is week 12. That would be a possible turn for TJ Hockenson. But if you just kind of look at the average timetable for this injury, it's about 9 months, which would put him back September 24th, which coincidentally is exactly week 4, which means more than likely TJ Hockenson will start the season on the PUP list, missing the first 4 games of the season. And then coming back for week 5, the Germany game, international spotlight, getting all that fun stuff going for the Vikings. Maybe it wasn't Germany, and international game week 5. Either way, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. That's the certified wake and take Jason guess. TJ Hockenson starts the year on the PUP or short-term IR and returns in week 5 for the Vikings international game. That's my guess here with TJ Hockenson. I'll say if he does land on the PUP list, which it's looking like it will happen, that's when you can swoop in and buy TJ Hockenson because I think it's going to be worth it. I do think that when he comes back, he will be good. He's been incredible when playing. Last year, he was on pace to finish as the tight end 1 and had the second most fantasy points per game amongst tight ends at 14.6. The year before that, he was 6th in points per game with 12.7. In back-to-back seasons, he's had over 5 touchdowns and over 900 receiving yards and over 120 targets. So just a ton of volume, a ton of production, looking really, really good. And now they have a rookie quarterback who generally kind of leans into their tight ends, and especially Justin Jefferson, but tight ends too as well. TJ Hockenson, I think, with JJ McCarthy's going to be pretty sweet. Going to be pretty sweet. So I am buying TJ Hockenson, especially when he hits PUP list. So I might wait a little bit. But again, no timetable on his recovery, but he is progressing through it pretty well. So the next bit of news, I think that's all I have for you guys with tight ends. So we'll go ahead and move on now to running back. We'll talk about some Najee Harris as we're having some updates about Najee Harris and his offseason. The first thing to talk about here is that he is losing weight. Pittsburgh's Post-Gazette spoke with Najee Harris's trainer, Josh Scott, and this is what he said. Najee is motivated, to say the least. He has dropped from 242 pounds to 235 and wants to keep going. He has called his client extremely clean, almost obsessively clean with his diet. It's all fueling his fire to have an even better season than last year and prove a lot of people wrong. There's a lot of people that hate on him for whatever reason, but he's been as consistent as you can be, durable, and I think he's going to continue with that. This is contract season, and that pretty much speaks for itself. So Najee Harris is motivated to go into his final year on the Pittsburgh Steelers and tear it up. We know now he has had 3 straight years with over 1,000 yards and no games missed. That is an incredible way to start your career, especially as a running back. Not missing any games is an incredible feat, which makes me concerned that he's trying to lose some weight. When your kind of big thing is durability, you might as well keep your weight up. But, I'm sure he could stand to lose a little bit of pounds and maybe, trim it a bit, get a bit more muscular maybe. But even then, that weighs more than fat. So I don't really know what he's going for, to be completely honest. He's only lost 7 pounds so far, so hopefully he doesn't go too much further. But it's just good to hear that he's motivated. It's good to hear that he's fired up, that they didn't take his 5th-year option. And it's good to hear that he is attacking this offseason. So again, I say Najee Harris is looking like a really good redraft and best ball value at his cost right now, even in Dynasty, really, if you're contending. I think these Steelers are going to run him into the ground this season, with them not having the long-term commitment to him by not picking up the 5th-year option. It signals to me that they want to run the ball a lot, and you might as well run Najee Harris into the ground as you're not tied to him any longer. So that's what I'm expecting from him. Hopefully he doesn't lose too much weight, as he might get injured. But still, 235 pounds is massive for a running back, so it's probably not that big of a deal for now. But either way, motivated, looking good. Let's go, Najee Harris. The next player I want to talk about is good old Drake Maye. And really just the Patriots in general, as this is more of a Jacoby Brissett quote more than anything. But Drake Maye is, Patriots quarterback. And this is what Jacoby Brissett had to say. When I was here the first time, you realize everybody's your mentor that's older than you in this league and has more experience. And I hope that I'm that for more than just Drake. I'm a teammate first, and I could be a good teammate not to only Maye, but to everybody on this team. I think the good thing about our room is everybody wants to be the guy. Everybody's competing, and that's what you want. If none of us wanted to play, then our room would be messed up, and we'd be in bad hands in this organization. I think everybody understands that, and everybody wants to play. I'm excited to work with Drake. I remember when I was following Tom Brady around and all that stuff, and now May's already texting me about plays and how I think about things in cadence, all the little nuances about being in the position at this level. So Drake Maye picking Jacoby Brissett's brain, and Jacoby Brissett is not shying away from the mentor attitude, which is exactly what you want to hear. That, again, just makes me even more confident in this being the right pick for the New England Patriots organization. I'm not sure, again, when he's going to start. I would assume he's going to start this year at some point. I don't think it will be early. I do think Jacoby Brissett will start the year, but maybe like week 6 or so, we could start to see some Drake Maye action, especially as he continues to pick quarterbacks' brains, whether it be Jacoby Brissett or Tom Brady, as Drake Maye kind of hung out with Tom Brady this weekend as well, and I'm sure learned a lot from him, picking his brain about not only being a quarterback in the NFL, but being specifically a quarterback for the New England Patriots. As we know, every organization kind of has their own things that you need to fight through to be the right guy for your franchise. And so him going with the GOAT, meeting with him is excellent news. You have to get excited about that. Drake Maye, again, just looking like the guy. Like my takeaway from this first round of quarterbacks is, again, I don't think there's a bust in this year's first round. It just all feels right in my gut. Drake Maye to the Patriots, Jayden Daniels to the Commanders, J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, Michael Penix on the Falcons in a season or two, Bo Nix on the Broncos. They all make sense and have the right landing spot for each one of those guys. I'm honestly just blown away by it. So I'm still trying to get some Drake Maye. Him meeting with Tom Brady and seeing this picture makes me want some Drake Maye even more. So that is that. The last thing I have for you guys, it's not even that exciting, is Odell Beckham. Right now, Odell Beckham is looking to get back on track. Here's the full quote. I got to get back on track, I guess, for a second, because there's some speed down here on this team. I've never shied away from competition or anything like that. Coach McDaniel and I were talking about it, and he's saying that on third downs, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are going to be double teamed. And so there's going to be a lot of room for opportunity. And I think that'll be a great matchup. I think we all have different skill sets, but also kind of similar skill sets in that we all make plays. I'm just looking forward to the opportunity. So Odell Beckham, I think the big takeaway here is that he knows his role on the Miami Dolphins, and that role is maybe third downs. It sounds like. It seems that the Dolphins are expecting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to be covered a lot, and Odell Beckham to be the third option for these kind of clutch plays, whether it be touchdowns, third downs, all of that stuff as he should be. He's still a pretty shifty route runner. We saw it on the Ravens last year. He was okay, had a couple spike weeks. We saw one vintage Odell Beckham game. So he has a little left in the tank. And I think that kind of using him specifically to be the clutchy guy does kind of make some sense for the Miami Dolphins. And if he gets hurt, I do expect Malik Washington to kind of step in and do what Odell Beckham would do as well. But it's good to have that role on an offense, a veteran or just a clutch factor person who can come in and be relied upon when the rest of the guys are covered. So look for Odell Beckham to maybe not have a massive ceiling this year, but to, have a couple big games or, medium-sized games and to come up in some clutch moments for this Miami Dolphins team. And let me double check, but I think that is all the news I have for you guys today. Do we have any questions? Looks like it. Looks like it. Jamie says they've been grabbing Darnell Mooney in the 13th round on Underdog. I like it. I like it. Would a third-round rookie pick for Mooney be a good buy? What does everyone think? If it's, I think so. I think so. I mean, the third round right now, especially if it's a single quarterback league, do it in Superflex. I mean, there's obviously still some value there, but there's also gonna be some whiffs when we go back and look at it. And I don't necessarily think Mooney's gonna be a whiff, and he's still young. I think he's only like 26 or 27, which is, I mean, really about the same age as some of these rookies. Am I right, guys? So to send out a third round pick, I mean, it's about right. Like, it might be a slight overpay, but like it's not that big of a deal. It's basically, do you want to take the risk of maybe hitting on a rookie? Like, it's possible. I'm not going to deny that. I liked my third round rookie picks this year, especially if it was Kamani Vidal or Javon Baker who fell. Then you're cooking with some gas. But Darnell Mooney has a little bit of the same ceiling, still pretty young, already has some proven production, and is on a good team. So I think that is a fine pivot if you don't trust any of the rookies at your third round rookie pick. You sold Brock Bowers and Bo Nix for Bryce Young, Roman Wilson, and a 25 first. I like it. I like it. I mean, Bryce Young or Bo Nix to Bryce Young is a slight upgrade more than likely, although I do kind of believe in Bo Nix a little bit. And Brock Bowers basically re-rolling is what we would call it here, taking that 107 that basically has to be Brock Bowers in our Superflex drafts right now and just sending it to next year. Because let's face it, that's probably what Brock Bowers is going to cost next year. So if you want Brock Bowers, you could probably get him for a 2025 first when it comes around to our rookie drafts next year. I find it hard to believe that he would have a crazy rookie season or anything like that. So I like this move a lot. I think getting Roman Wilson's a good move. I think getting a quarterback going into year 2, so you don't have to go through the growing pains with Bo Nix, is a good move. And I think just getting that extra first and Roman Wilson is just awesome. So I think you did a really solid job on that trade, Jamie. I really do. Would it be worth it for me to trade Hockenson for Kelsey on a super competitive roster? My heart is telling me no. As much as I like Travis Kelsey this season, I think that when Hockenson returns, he's going to be good again. And I think he's going to help you be competitive, especially if you are a competitive roster. You can probably afford to, just not have TJ Hockenson for a couple weeks. And then when he is there, especially towards the end of the season, when the points matter the most, he's going to start tearing up on your roster. And then you have, him a little bit longer. If you can get Kelsey plus, it's probably worth it, but I don't think I would do the 1-for-1 swap. I just don't think I would do it. Ryan asks, how early or late do I think Hawk will go in the Wake and Take League? He's got to go soon. I'm very excited, guys. The Wake and Take Invitational League, the auction portion has finished. So we started the snake draft at the beginning of the show right at 10 a.m. And I know that Brian Thomas was already picked as we finished. So it's been a really fun league. I might have to do a little Wake and Take episode about it. Do a little lesson on startup drafts as we are in startup season. If you had the 15th pick in a 32-team Superflex Dynasty draft after 64 players were scooped via auction, who would you pick at that 15th pick? Man, I don't know. It is me who's picking with the 15th pick in a 32-team Superflex Dynasty draft after 64 players were scooped up via auction. But I don't know who I am going with yet. I kind of want to see how the board falls. And yeah, I don't want to do too much table talk here. But if you guys want to take my pick, I would love to trade up. I would also love to trade back. So, I'm a big traded guy. I love accruing value. Also, anyone listening that is in the Wake and Take Invitational League, I would love to send you my first round pick next year, my 2025 first round pick for a pick in this round. I want to pick in this round. I don't want my first round pick. I want to pick this round, or a startup pick right now. So if you want a first round pick, if you're looking to punt to next season, come to me. Come to me. Let's see. You've been addicted to Tyler's Best Ball podcast. Great stuff. Tyler is awesome. He's killing it, not only on his Best Ball YouTube channel, but also for us at Player Profiler over at Player Profiler today. He's hosting a night and also helping me tremendously over at Twitter. So shout out Tyler, as well as shout out the rest of my assistants. Toomey, also over at Player Profiler Day. Shout out him. And of course, Brittany. Shout out Brittany. She does great work for all of our thumbnails and everything here at Player Profiler. All of the graphics now as well over at Instagram. Just great work from her as well. So shout out Tyler. Shout out Brittany. Shout out Toomey. Great people. Great people. All right. That should be it in terms of questions. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the Player Profiler YouTube, and hit the bell so you get notified when we go live. Tons of great shows coming out here daily on Player Profiler. Great fantasy football content to help you win your leagues. You guys, find the Wake and Take podcast, link in the description. Follow me on social media, username here on the banner here at JFootballWine, anywhere you can find it. Everyone, have a magnificent Monday and a wonderful rest of your week. Peace!
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.